everyone, and welcome to Venitas podcast. I want to thank you all for joining me today and spending time with me. Me and my guests, we have Pastor Leston Black. He is back, and I am so excited to have him back. How are you today, Pastor?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm alive.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that. That's a good way to be. You're alive and kicking. God bless. Good day.
Right.
So, I want to mention a couple things before we, get into our show a little bit here. Um, I had a guest on, I believe it was last week or the last couple weeks, Mr. Joseph Oching. He was the CEO of God Provides Ministries. And I just want to mention to everyone that I love the way I put myself in there, like he's having a spring giveaway in the city of Bridgeport on June 8th from 12 to 4 p.m. It's going to be held at 827 Trumbull Avenue. And so there is a website you can go to. It's www.godp as in Paul, M as in Mary, I as in ice cream.org. If you go to that website, you'll see the flyer. You can click on the QR code and you can register. If you register, you do not have to wait in line. Everything is free. It is
Okay.
unbelievable. You just fill out a simple little form and you can register your entire family. Anyone 5 years or older that can carry a bag, you can register them and you can multiply your gifts or your benefits when you go to this place. It is amazing. They have amazing sponsors. The gifts will be coming from Amazon, Home Depot, Costco, Target, and it's all free. And what they do is they just help the community. If you have a disaster, or fire or something, you go to a hotel, your social worker will contact him and he will reach out to you and provide you with your immediate needs, toiletries, socks, clothes, whatever. And then as you transition later on to your apartment or, back into your home or whatever, they can help you furnish it. So this is a great,
Yeah,
great
that's a
benefit
beautiful.
for the community. I didn't even know about this. This company has been in existence since 2017. And I'm all over Connecticut, almost in every city because I'm a licensed insurance agent. And I never heard of God Provide Ministries.
Oh,
And so they have trailers full of items to
wow.
give away to the community for free from some of the sponsors that I just listed. And they're also looking for volunteers for Bridgeport on June 8th. So the reason they need volunteers for different things. Some volunteers they start at 6 in the morning. That doesn't mean you need to be there at 6 in the morning, but they have all the trailers to unload the items and to categorize them. So they need people to do that, people to hand the gifts off to the persons.
The
And so there's a
beneficiaries.
half hour training. But you can go to the website, click on the QR code or call the number and get all the information that you need. And so please share this information with everyone. He does two a year. He does one in Waterbury and he does one in he's starting to do this is his first one in Bridgeport. So listen to this before we move on. Last year, he had the spring giveaway in Waterbury. They had 5,000, a little over 5,000 people show up to take items home,
Oh,
and that was not enough people. So now he's sharing it with Bridgeport. So hopefully, we get 10,000 and they don't have to put any of the items back. And
wow.
they're constantly getting items. Some of the items, like for example, from Amazon, if somebody orders a refrigerator or whatever and they return it, then Amazon kind of gives it away as an example of some of the items, but they're brand new items. Everything is brand new. So please, and this is for anyone who needs it, and you will have to fill out a small little form. And the only reason that you need to fill out the form is because they have to provide Amazon with names that they gave the product to. So that's understandable, right?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Have you
Yeah,
ever
that's
heard of it, Pastor Leston?
well, there's something like that at the Salvation Army.
Okay.
So, I was a part of that too.
Oh, okay.
Right, the Salvation Army has been doing their thing in the community for a long time.
Oh, okay. I just think that's such a.
Yeah, that's
I
a
get so
very
excited about it.
that's a very great, excited program.
It is.
Yeah.
It is where they're helping people in the community, and there's so many people that need help now, especially families. Um, Speaking of families, I'm looking at your T-shirt here.
Mm,
Home is the most important institution. I couldn't agree more.
yeah.
Parenting is the only full-time job, and believe me, it is. It makes learning a habit. Did I miss something else?
Make learn
Makes
a
learning.
habit.
That's
Yeah.
a great T-shirt, and I guess that's going to be our subject. Talking about family today. Um, what would you like to? Where would you like to start, Pastor Leston?
Well, start with the home. Home is the most important institution.
I agree.
Yeah. And what I did in the past that come up with this
That's a
logo,
great slogan.
logo
Yeah.
here. I've been working with kids and parents in the home in Jamaica, and I did for 20 years. And I know before I got into it, but after doing it for 20 years, that home is the most important institution, and that's where everything started. And I was doing it, from the Bible, train up a child in the way it should go, until I come up to an encyclopedia that published by some teachers, and they agree with everything that I was doing. Home is the most. So they have all the scientific detail there, you know, from 0 to 100, how we learn. And, that's what they say, it's about the environment. 95% of us in every country has the ability to do well, but the home make the difference. So if we don't have the environment that encourage learning, discovery, and all the good stuff, that's what can really 'cause children live what they learn. So if the home is not kind and supportive, the kids not going to do the thing that they need to do. They're going to do all the wrong stuff. So so I put this out. Home is the most important institution. Parents own a full-time job, and sometimes parents are by themselves alone. Like this morning when I got here, I went down by the library there, and there's a place behind the library for elderly people. And I say, I wish we have something like this for the parents, a support system in the community like that. But it is not there. And that's what I was trying to encourage the church to do in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing it by myself, going to the homes, talking to the parents, encourage them, help the kids to read, and all those good stuff.
That's a good point that you make. And I just realized it as you said it. We have community centers and Boys and Girls Club for kids through age, I don't know, high school, and then we have senior centers for the elderly.
Right.
So you're saying the middle, we need something for the parents.
But the parents support.
Something right,
The
That's
parents can come together and exchange ideas,
okay.
you know. Because, sometimes it's stressful at home. So somewhere the parents can get away as well, stay home parent. Or, somewhere you can go, and play with the kids and support the kids for free. Because
Yes.
there's a daycare center out there,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs a lot, for parents to get in there. But what if the parents want to spend some time with the kids away from the home? You know, you want something like that where they can get other support from other parents, to each one teach each one, that type of idea.
Yeah.
And when I did it in Jamaica, man, some of the kids who I met, they were at the bottom of the class. And by going to the home and teach parents some simple principle, like love, kindness, goodness, and how to do all of those right stuff from the Bible, the kids then move to the top of the class.
Because they feel better.
They feel
They
better.
feel better. I mean, if you're from an abusive home, you're stressed out. When you're going to school, you're not really thinking about learning. You're thinking about, you saw, your dad hit your mom or, your mom break a dish, or you're thinking about those negative
Negative
things.
stuff.
That, you know what, that's a really good point. Unfortunately, we do have homes where, there's not always, good things happening. I'll use myself. My father abused my mother, and she ended up leaving him. She took all of her kids on a Greyhound bus from Mobile, Alabama, to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and left him in Alabama. And this is back in, I was 3 years old in 1963, and that's what she had to do to get away from an abusive husband at that time, because back in the 50s and 60s there was no resources for battered women at that time, battered women and their children. So being in an environment like that, um, definitely affects the child. And you got to have somewhere to go, and you got to have something positive, going on in your life. So if you're in, say you're in a situation like that with a single parent, and there is no other mother to take the kids to the Greyhound bus and, go to Bridgeport or whatever. So a child is stuck in an environment like that. What happens? What do you think?
It, it can be challenging. I wrote this book here, The Five Killer Emotion, 10 Fruits of Love. And the five killer emotions is about anger, the fear, the guilt, the self pity, and the shaming. And those are the ones that, emotion that destroy us. So, the 10 fruit of love is really the fruit of the Spirit from the Bible. It's nine fruit of the Spirit, but I had forgiveness to it, because we need to forgive and move on. And that's what I teach parents at home.
Okay.
You know, from the Bible, the fruit of the Spirit, self control, need to control that tongue, the love,
Guilty.
you know, and, practice, the kindness in the home, teach the kids how to be kind to each other, and, less competition, more kindness at home. And what I did is to go to the home and stop, a learning environment there, because in the school system, the competitiveness, some people, are ashamed to give an answer and they give the wrong answer. But at home now, the parents are there. And if you give the wrong answer, the parents not going to, come down on you that hard. So I encourage, parents to, do the extra stuff at home, the homework, the this and, just to make sure that your homework is done at home and those little activities. And according to the scientists from the World Book Encyclopedia, that from birth to 18, the child spends 86% of the time outside the classroom.
From birth to what?
From birth to 18,
18.
they
Okay.
spend 86% of the time outside the classroom. Only 14% of the time in the classroom.
Oh, okay.
So what they do with that time going to determine how well they do at school. So, I made parents aware of those, research information. And, most parents usually fill that gap with television. So if you can, get them away from the television for, an hour a day or 2, 3 hours a day, little, just little stuff, doing little stuff, Quraning, writing stuff, reading a book or two.
Reading. Yep.
Yeah, those type of stuff will help the kids to do much, much better at home, you know.
They
Uh,
do. They do. And so these are you mostly referring to stay home parents that stay home with their children until they go to kindergarten, or
no, no,
okay.
general knowledge. Because if the parents who, work and send the kids to school, of course they're going to be, in school at a amount of time.
Right?
So what they do with the time while they're out of school is going to determine how well they do at school. you know. So because in the past when kids didn't do well, we used to label them as this and that and that and. So scientists, look at it.
Yeah, instead of you're saying, so instead of, when the kids didn't do well, instead of just suspending them for not doing well, spend time with them and teach them positive things
Positive
with the
stuff,
time that they're outside of school, like a great after school program.
right?
So like playing sports, getting involved in teams and things like that when your parent cannot be around.
Be around, you know. So I was, talking to church in Jamaica about it, on a regular basis, And that's why I come up with these ideas. 'Cause I was talking to parents, and so we need to have this type of support group. And of course, we have some parenting group in Jamaica that I was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what helped me as a parent. To be a part of that. So and especially today, it is needed more today.
It is. Ugh.
Because we send the kids to the smartphone, and of course, the phone is good because the
Yeah.
phone have a lot of information and knowledge
It's a
there.
computer. It's a
Yeah,
computer. So,
but it's what they do on with these type of gadget out there. So we have to make sure that they are, in other words, 6% of the time outside classroom. You want them to be do things that classroom related. Okay, if they learn in some bad habit, when they go to school, they have to correct that. So best if they learn, little something what they're doing at school when they're away from the
when
classroom.
okay. All right. I think that's a great idea. And a lot of kids are not getting that today.
A lot of
I
kids not
think.
getting that today.
Um, I just feel like I'm an old school parent. I'm a boy mom. I raised two sons, and and the way I raised them is because of the fear I grew up in. I kept them in the house all the time. So I was one of those, I wanted them to have it better than the way I had it. So I kind of stayed home and did things like that with them that you're talking about. But then sometimes I would just let them go downstairs, like on the weekends, and just veg out on their computers. And I didn't monitor everything. I was happy that they were home.
Mm.
So tell me about the training you did in Jamaica. So you said you went into the homes with the parents. So it sounds like you did personal one-on-one training with the training the parent on how to train the student or their sons or daughters. Is that correct?
Right, right. One on one with
Wow.
with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my little company that I set up there. Tutoring because parents. What I want to do is to really go to the home and teach love from the Bible. But of course, the kids they were not reading, so I go and teach them to read. And in between that, stick in a couple of stuff from the Bible while they were teaching the parents, or teaching kids how to read. And it was successful because I teach a first child, and because the parents was always, sitting beside me and seeing what I was doing. The parents teach the second child, the third child, and the fourth child.
Okay.
And some of those parents become teachers. That's how successful it was. But going to the home and help the parents to organize the time what they
Mm-hmm.
spend at home. They're, out of school Saturday and Sunday in the afternoon, a lot of time they spend at home. And, even a good friend of mine was a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, I can do it all, because I'm a teacher, my husband is a lawyer, so we can help the kids. And of course, after 2 years talking to her about it, she bought into the program. And, she bought the encyclopedia, what is
Uh-huh.
done by the scientists and have it at home. And her report to me was, no, the kids, them teaching the parents.
The kids were teaching the parents?
Parents, right, because the kids don't spend a lot of time at home,
Mm-hmm.
so they have more time to read.
Exactly.
So by reading more, they were able to share more and do better at school. You know, so that's a very important thing for parents to look at. What the kids learn at home.
Exactly.
Good or bad. You
Exactly.
know, because that's where the success and the failure
That's where everything starts at
start.
home.
And yeah,
And I feel like, as a parent, you are a teacher. You're a
of course,
teacher.
of
You are the
course.
nurse. You're the disciplinary. You're everything that they need. And so you have to do all those things. And I think, the stress comes when you have multiple kids, one parent, and you can't do everything at once, and you try to do everything and try to provide what all the children need, and then there's no time left for you. There's no me time,
Hmm.
for the parents. But I believe wholeheartedly that home is definitely the most important institution that you could be in. Even today with older kids, like, my son, he just turned 29. He's still at home,
Mm.
but he lives downstairs. We're upstairs. And I feel like in this era, this environment, this world that we live in today, not only is it, the best institution to be in, it's the safest place to be,
Seriously, to be,
you
yeah.
know? And you don't mind that your kids are, I wouldn't say vegging out on computers, but you don't mind that they're on computers as much, when they're downstairs because they're safe. But
Hmm.
here's the thing with technology today. Even if a child is home alone without the parent and they have, just say, for example, a PS5, you can go online and you can communicate with other children. Not only other children, there's so many adults that use the PS5. Like my son is one of them. He's 29 years old. And you can make friends online.
Yeah, around the world.
Yeah, around the world. My son made a friend from New York. He lived in New York. He was from Chicago, and they played games or whatever they did online, right? And so then, after a couple of years of doing that, he ended up coming to one of my fish fries. He invited him, to stay for the weekend because I do like a customer appreciation fish fry for my business. And I said, he invited him over. I was like, Big J, do you know this kid? I mean, you're inviting like a total stranger to the house to stay overnight. And I didn't know him. But he said, yeah, I've known him for years. We've been playing online. He told me all about him. And we let the kids stay there. And it was just so nice the way we all connected. And we like to cook. So he thanked me he said, I haven't had a home cooked meal because his parents were in Chicago or wherever and he was in New York. And so that he didn't have to buy. So he was really grateful. We got to meet him. And my point, to the story is that you can still, even though you're home alone in a basement with your computer, you can still communicate and socialize and visit with people and learn things as well.
Right,
With
right.
today's society, with social media and with all the internet and technology and all that stuff. So just because they're alone, they may not be alone. Or, if
No.
if they're not with their parent. And they could communicate with their parents too. You could do FaceTime if the parent's not there. Say, for example, there is a divorce in the family. Now you could do FaceTime. You could go spend the summer with the other parent or, whatever. So there's
Right.
still a way to learn and be in the safest place and be in the most important institution in different environments.
Definite, definite. Yeah, no, that's a good point, because even with the homework, you can, have, kids helping each other with the computer online, with it, with the homework. And it's scientists, have these things down packed. The World Encyclopedia is in all the library in New York, Connecticut. I've been there and see them. And what they say, from birth to 50% of the child adult intelligence is formed by
To
age
age 4, you said?
from birth to 4.
Okay.
And the reason why they emphasize that, because the parents make more input, because they don't trust anybody, than the parents at that age. So whatever the parents teach them at that age, that's what they're going to build on. Because 50% of a child adult intelligence is formed from birth to 4. You know. So the book was designed for the home to give the parents the material that they can understand what they need to do, to get the kids. So it's curriculum based, kind of done by some teachers. They do the research. So everything in that book is really what they do in the classroom. But they want the parents to have all this information that they can prepare the kids, give the kids the extra information they need when they're out of school.
Yep.
You know. So
So, yeah, so I'll tell you, like, kids today are just so different. I compare my granddaughter to my son, and it is a world of difference. And I just, let me ask you a question. Let me just backpedal a little bit. What age do you think it's appropriate to discipline a child? What
well,
I'm just curious.
this
Or does
discipline
it depend on the child?
well, discipline. Well, some people think that discipline, because my concept of discipline, that's what I teach the parents, is
Okay.
about keeping the child busy. keeping them active. You know,
Distracting when they want to do one thing.
right? Give them something to do that they can, focus on, and get the discipline and skill that they need. Some parents think of they need to beat, or talk to them hard about certain
Or
things.
timeout. I'm
Time,
asking for personal reasons
yeah,
because I have a 3-year-old granddaughter where she is so domineer. She has such a domineer personality and headstrong, and I don't know what they're putting in these prenatal vitamins today, but these kids now, they seem to think that they already know more than you do, and they're 3 or 4.
right,
I mean,
right.
it's you have to. Do you have grandkids that are like 3 or 4, or you're around 3 or 4 year old kids?
No, not no.
Oh,
Um,
you've got to put yourself around these little kids. It
right,
is a totally different thing. They're extremely smart, and they think they know more than I do. And I'm like, and I don't want to be too mean. I don't want to discipline her. And I'm like, you have to do it this way. And I'll tell you this. So she's into gymnastics. And so the gymnastics teacher told her mom that she's not listening. So that's why I'm asking about discipline. I guess it would depend on how headstrong the person is. What would you do in a situation like that where your granddaughter, 3 years old, going to gymnastics and the teacher saying everybody sit down and listen to me, show you how to tumble or whatever, and she's up running around and not listening because that's what's happening. I'm giving you a real life situation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Those type of stuff because some kids are what they call hyperactive. They have a lot of energy. So is that what I used to do in the past and encourage parents to do? To do stuff with while you're moving around. You do stuff like, for instance, they want to teach them circle. They might not sit down and want to draw a circle or but if we're going on the road, show them a car, the wheel is a circle. So you do activity, with them to move. But I know what you're
But
talking
there's a
about.
time where you can't do that,
Yeah,
especially in a classroom situation.
right.
You got 20 kids and they have to sit and listen to you. So there's a time I feel like, I'm just going to tell her, you need to discipline her and, take something away and make it uncomfortable for her until she understands
Right.
that she has to do exactly what the teacher says for right now, and then play during playtime, write during writing time, read during reading time, eat during lunchtime. You got to follow the rules.
Right.
So you have to teach them to do that. I understand keeping them active and distracting them from, if they want their pacifier and they're still 4 years old, whatever. I understand all that stuff. But there's a time where, she's going to be 4 in July. She's going to be going to pre-K 4 in a classroom environment, and she's already in a little environment with the gymnastics, and she's not listening. I feel like you need to do something serious because if they start getting in trouble in school at age 5, we got a problem.
Right, right, right,
we,
right.
we got a serious problem.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So that I think something should have started earlier or
yeah,
needs to start immediately or something to implement that discipline and say, hey, you don't know more than me, or I am the boss. I'm in charge, not you, and you have to do this. If you don't do it, then there's consequences.
yeah. Probably the parents didn't, employ the discipline early.
But she's
Ca-
3. When that's what I'm saying. You don't want to. Well, anyway, I'm sorry. Go
But,
ahead.
for example, no, when a child young, they can, take control. Because most parents, the child crying and they rush to take the child out.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
spoil them. That's
sometimes
what
you
it
need
is.
to allow them to,
Uh
to
huh.
sit there and cry it out, while you're doing what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you, give a child attention, the child is going to
Oh yeah,
take,
they're
take
gonna sensationalize
right,
it.
take the lead, you know. So because my son, I grew up, with my son, I was a single parent for a little time.
Oh,
And, I
you're a
applied,
single father?
I was a single father for a little time,
Oh,
for about,
wow. Okay.
8 years.
That's unusual. It's usually single mothers, or at least I'm not gonna say unusual. I don't hear about it.
Yeah, about 8 years I was, and, until he turned about 10, he run back to his mother. But I try to apply, these principles, and it really was up, very, because I try if it's crying, I'm going to leave him there. He can cry it out. He wasn't crying much, but I
I
try,
like that.
I try to be in control to make sure that he follow my order, my rule, you know, and it worked out very good,
Good.
So,
Uh,
this I think I was trying to set, parents out there, from birth to four, make sure because they're forming their habits, what they're going to use for a lifetime.
mm-hmm.
So make sure you
That's
know,
so important.
yeah,
That birth to four.
birth to four is very critical part of the child development.
Because they're learning everything from you. So make sure you don't use no profanity because
Yeah,
they're going to repeat that. They do everything they see you doing. But like I said today, the kids today are from a
yeah.
different
The
world.
environment, a different environment from when we were growing up.
Oh my
A
God.
different
Oh, when
place.
we were growing up, like me, you know, all your parent had to do was like, if you did something, they'd look at you like and cut their eye, then you know you're in trouble.
You fall in line.
Oh yes. Oh
Yeah.
yes. My son, he was pretty tough. I call my granddaughter his payback kid. I said, everything you did to me, she's gonna do it to you times two.
Right, 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 right.
I think I wished it on him. I think I wished it on him. But yeah, raising him, it was very challenging. He had a lot of energy. I wouldn't change anything because he turned out okay. And I kept him involved in sports. Like I worked full time, and once I got out of work, I would pick up my kids. And when they were little, I spent time with them. I didn't bother about cleaning the house and all those other things. So I wanted to give them quality time because I only had a little bit of it. I wasn't home all day. And then I stayed home on the weekends with them. And as they grew, one of them, the one that had all the energy, he played every sport: football, baseball, basketball. And so that taught him a lot too about, you know, team unity
And discipline.
and discipline, especially football. The sports is good for discipline,
Right.
karate and all that stuff. So, yeah, the most important thing I would say to the parents is stay home with your children as much as you possibly can in that environment and that in your house, and teach them and show them, like you said, show them love and support and let them know that you're there, but also show them, I think it's important to show them that strong hand to let them know that you're in charge and they're not in charge.
Right, right,
Okay.
right.
I think I raised my kids with a little bit of fear. I think fear is respect, and could I be wrong?
No, no, you have to give them some discipline,
Yeah.
some order, you know.
Yeah, and you have to do that with guys. Here's my take on that with men, because now my son is like 6 feet tall, 200 and whatever pounds, 50, 40 or whatever. If you don't do it when they're small, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell when they get big
No,
because they're big.
no, no.
Yeah. So even right now, and I was kind of a screamer. That's the one thing I regret. I was kind of a screamer, so but it didn't affect him. He's still fine.
Right,
He
right.
and he tells me today, the older one, he's like, "Ah, that didn't bother me." I was like, "Okay," but it bothered my other son. My other son didn't like it, so I never yelled at him. So I have two. One I punish all the time because he was just so headstrong, and I think he's gonna have to punish his daughter all the time. And when I say punish, I put him on timeout, and I whooped him with a belt. I took things away. I did everything to this kid. I was like, it's just hope. I did everything I knew how to do with the support and mentorship that I had. And then the other one, never punished him.
Right,
Who
right,
could figure? So it's not my fault.
right, right. Because
I'm off the hook. I'm letting myself off the hook.
what I try not to do is to, I hit my son one time when he was about 9. But, what I try to do is make learning a habit. I say, give them things to write, let them do, different activities. And of course, at home, allow them to help you with the homework. My son get a little burn, was trying to help me to cook, get a little burn up in the hospital. Today is a chef,
Uh huh.
you know. So, you have to get them
Oh, I did.
Because
I
of
did all
art.
that stuff. I let them cook with me. We made cookies at Christmas time. I did science projects with them, which was fun.
Right.
And one of them, my son still used Bounty today because he did the paper towel, which paper towel was the strongest. And then the youngest son that I never punished, his projects, it was like electrical. It had to light up. It was very, very, technical, I guess. And so I did. And then in the morning, like before school, I used to make them read. You couldn't put the TV on. I was really strict. I think I did okay. And thank God they both have their bachelor's degree. And that was one thing that I was just adamant about. You have to finish that, or you
Right.
can't. Or I told him, I said, or you can't be at my house.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe
No,
they were scared I was going to
that
throw them in the streets.
that's important, for you to be, behind them to make sure that they get something done.
Absolutely,
You know.
absolutely. Even during high school, I made sure that, you have to have honors. You have to get at least a B. And I knew that they were capable of it. If they struggled and, things like that, and they really couldn't and tried their best, then I wouldn't force it on them. But the oldest one, he was just smart. I never saw this kid studying. It was just getting underneath my skin. Where's your books? When are you going to be studying? And he got honors all the time.
Right. Right.
And there's no way you could cheat your way through that. And then he went to college. So
Right.
whatever he did it right. But he was smart. I should have made sure he got like high honors. He could have gotten A's if he had like actually applied himself, but he wouldn't do that. He was yeah, like I said, headstrong. Anyway, I don't want to go back to that.
Right. Right. You
So,
know.
this book that you have, can I say that again? I like this, the first one, this one.
Oh,
So it's the five killer emotions versus 10 fruits of love. So the five killer emotions are,
it's anger, fear,
where?
guilt, self pity, and shame.
Oh, okay.
Shaming.
Okay. I don't see those.
Well,
And the 10 fruits of love is peace, self control, kindness, goodness, joy, faithfulness, services to others. That's very important. Speaking the truth, which a lot of people don't do.
right.
Trust, and the most important one is love, because God has two rules: love God and love others.
Right. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy strength. And second commandments is love thy neighbor as thyself. You know. So, these are the thing that help the kids that I work with in Jamaica to really excel. And I know, the same principle apply everywhere because, this,
Kids are
as I say,
kids. Doesn't
the,
matter
the,
where they are.
the scientists done the research and according to them, in every country, is only 5% of the people have don't have the ability mentally, have the mental ability to do well. And funny enough, place like Cuba have like 100% literacy, and some other country in Europe and around the world. Most countries don't achieve that because somehow the discipline. Of course, and give you the cultural environment that help this country to succeed. Like Cuba, they say that when a child succeed, it's a celebration in the family. So everybody praise that and uplift it and encourage it. You know,
Yeah, we
Because
do that here too.
discipline, right?
We do that here
You
too.
know,
You celebrate that your graduation is a
yes.
major
So
celebration.
some places, meaning Cuba is a whole community, celebrate it. Not only family alone, but the whole community, support
That's what it takes, a
the
community.
whole take a village,
Exactly.
you
Thank
know.
you. That's what I was looking for.
Right. So it is, let's say in the take a village. So it's a environmental thing, environment, encourage child in a certain way.
Exactly. That is great information, and I want to thank you so much. Everybody, please remember out there that home is the most important institution. I agree with that 100%. Pastor Leston came all the way from New York this morning just because I asked him
Right.
to give out this information. And I hope and pray that you share this information with your family, with your friends, and take note of it yourself. Take heed to it. And if you're a parent or a guardian, or even a sister, brother, helping out with someone younger than you that look up to you, try to follow some of this, take some of this information to heart, and you know recognize it, understand it, utilize it, and teach it. Is that right?
Definite, definite, definite.
Any last words before we go?
Yeah, just to make sure that everything done with kindness, everything done with the attitude of kindness.
And that comes from a man that didn't punish his kids.
Nah,
I'm the mean one. I punish my kids.
sometimes that is necessary
they
too.
they needed it.
Yes.
My son actually thanked me for it. He wrote me a poem for it. I should have brought that. I didn't know we were going to go here. But anyway, Pastor Leston, thank you so much for coming on Venitas podcast. And we hope to see you again in a couple of months. We'll schedule something, and we'll address the community again. I love spending time with you, and I appreciate every lesson that you bring here.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining Vanita's podcast. I appreciate your time. Time is the single most important and the most important asset that we have, I think, because it should go right up there at the top of your list, because we don't know how much of it we have left, and what you do with it is so important. So just remember how you want to spend the time that you have today. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.